It seems as if we're going to talk about evolution, we should spend a little bit of time talking about ourselves and the idea of human evolution. You see the word on the screen here currently, hominids. Hominids is simply a word that refers to humans and humans' ancestors. Of course, we're all, as we have established in the past, on one big, great family tree. And so we're related to everything, but we're of course related to some things more closely than others. One of our taxonomic categories to which we belong is the order primate. And of course, we're not alone in that order. You can see that we are with apes and humans, which you're probably familiar with, but also some other organisms pictured here, tree shrews and lemurs, and these fine guys over here, which are called tarsiers. And of course, to be in the same taxonomic category, you have to share common traits. The traits that those individuals all share would be an arboreal lifestyle. In other words, the majority of them live in trees and therefore have traits that would allow for that to occur, such as highly movable fingers and toes, flattened nails instead of claws, good vision, color vision, and that would be significant when living in trees because you'd need to be able to distinguish between edible leaves, fruits, etc., and they tend to be of different colors. Forward-facing eyes, which also important for life in the trees because two forward-facing eyes allow for depth perception. And of course, if you're living in a tree, if you go to grab onto the next branch, it better be where you think it is. Otherwise, you're going to be lying on the bottom of the floor, the forest floor. And then finally, the ability to hold the body vertically. Now, within that group of primates, there is a smaller, more exclusive group called anthropoids, of which it's just ourselves and apes and monkeys, because of course we share even more in common with those organisms than we do with the larger group of primates that we just discussed. In addition to all those characteristics that we mentioned earlier, anthropoids all share skeletal strength and flexibility, plus an opposable thumb. What does that mean to be opposable? Well, you can take your thumb and you can touch it fingertip to fingertip with each of the other 4 fingers that are on your hand. That was a significant addition to our features, our anatomical features along the way, because of course it allows for the gripping of objects. And then probably most significantly, number 3, a large cranial capacity versus body size. Notice that it doesn't just say a large cranial capacity. It's all well and good to have a large brain, but what size body is that brain in control of? Because the larger the body, the more brain it takes to simply keep it alive. That doesn't leave a whole lot of room left over for intellect. I have no idea how big the brain of, let's say, a blue whale happens to be, but I'm going to guess it's pretty significant. Maybe it's even bigger than ours. But just think of the body that brain has to control. It's massive. And so all of the power of that brain is used up in basically maintaining the life of that large body. And as I said earlier, there's not much room left over in that brain for intelligence. But if you have a large brain compared to a relatively small body, that means that there can be a fair amount of nervous tissue left over for intelligence. And of course, our intellect is really what makes humans human. What you're looking at here is a reference to that word that we talked about earlier, hominids. We said they are humans, but they are also humans' ancestors. And so, yes, we have ancestry that includes chimps and apes and so on, but more exclusive than that would be this list of individuals that you see on this chart. You're seeing this chart in reference to years. So here at the very right-hand corner at the bottom is current modern day. And as you work to the left, 0.5 million years, 1 million years, 1.5, and so on. What you're seeing is that we haven't been around that long. If you look at ourselves up here in the upper right, there's us. Homo sapiens. And we don't even go back 500,000 years. But you can see a whole long list of individuals that do go back in time. Probably have heard of some of them and probably quite a few others that you have not. But what you're seeing here is the list of all the different hominids known to have existed, at least in the eyes of two guys, Johansen and Edgar. And it represents our evolutionary lineage. None of these organisms are alive today other than us. You might be familiar with this group here, Homo erectus. Maybe this group here, which you've probably heard of as Neanderthals. Okay? But this is the representation of how we got here, the time frame in which we got here, and how one group of hominids perhaps evolved into another or diverged into multiple different groups of hominids. Here is simply another representation of the same thing, showing you pictures of the different skulls of these hominid groups. Another representation, and yet another representation.